In a day and age where the sports media landscape is overloaded with fake tabloids and hot takes designed just for clicks, one show cuts through the chaos with pure, unfiltered honesty. From the End to the Bench Network, this is Givin Takes. Every week we go beyond the hype to explore the sports world, tackling the most relevant topics on the board while grinding through our starting nine. So, sit back, relax, and get ready for some real perspectives. Now, here's your host, Nate Miller.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. My name is Nate Miller, and this is Givin Takes, the online sports show where every single week I sit down with you lovely sports fans. And what do? We talk about sports. You know this. You guys are regulars here, I assume. If you're not, welcome. As I told you, I'm Nate Miller. This is Givin Takes. If it's your first time, it's a good episode to turn into for the first time. I got a lot of good stuff to talk about today, as always. And for those of you returning, welcome back. I appreciate your viewership every single week. And so does everyone else at the Empty the Bench Network, because as I mentioned on last week's episode, and if you frequently watch a lot of shows across the network, you've probably heard more than a few times by now, because we're certainly proud of it. We have just eclipsed the 3,000 watch hour mark here on YouTube, getting closer to 3,100 now too, which means we're getting even closer to 4,000. It's a big milestone. It's a huge milestone. It's all thanks to you all who are watching and coming back to this content every week. So we appreciate it greatly. And we hope you continue to do so. We hope you continue to do so as we continue on that push for 4,000. And if you want to catch me on other shows across the network as we push for that watch hour goal, I'm always on Hitting for the Cycle with Ben Cruz, David Waitman, and Ryan Toohey. That's Thursday nights at 8:30. And then on Fridays at 5, I'm on Unnecessary Wagers with my co-host, Connor Rowland. I won't be on either of those shows this week. I'm traveling out of town for a wedding, so I won't be here Thursday and Friday to record the shows with those guys. But next week, I'll be back to that. Some other important notes about shows next week that I got for you real quick before I get into what we're talking about today. Said this last week, say it today, I'm going to say it again next week. The 7th of September, Monday, September 7th, is going to be the last Monday show of Givin Takes, because then football season is going to start, and then we're going to move right into Tuesdays at 9:30 instead of Mondays. That's because I want to be able to talk about, the entire NFL week that happened on my show every week, including the Monday night football before. So show's going to be getting pushed back 24 hours. So, if you like to watch every week, you make it a point to watch. You're going to have to change up your scheduling a little bit to catch it. But that's what happens when football's on. We got to work around football. It's the biggest thing in sports whenever it's on. So we gotta find our way around it. So, and always, the ticker came on, but I'll say it again. Follow us on social media. Just got Twitter up today and running finally for the show, so you can follow that at Givin Takes, and then at Givin Takes on both Instagram and TikTok as well, with the underscore on the back end of it. So make sure to follow me there, ETB Network, at ETB Network on all the pertinent socials as well. And yeah, without further ado, let's get right into this starting nine on this lovely Monday evening. Leading off, I got the GT top 25. That's the Givin Takes top 25, because I'm not the Associated Press. I'm Givin Takes, but I got a top 25 for you when it comes to college football that I'm going to read off to you. Then in the 2 spot, the new Notre Dame rule. I'm going to break that down and talk about it. With college football coming up, I mentioned it in passing on this show, but I wanted to dive into it more. A lot of people may have forgotten that this was even a thing. And so I want to talk about it a little bit, give you my thoughts on it. 3-hole. Nick Chubb calls it a career after 8 years. An unfortunate end to his career, but going to give him the respect that he deserves and just kind of talk about how his career ended and everything, my thoughts on it. Then 4th, a big hot button topic in baseball that's been ongoing now for about a week is this Ketel Marte situation. He's been on the restricted list for a week now. A lot of questions about that and a lot of speculating that if this had happened 8 hours earlier last Monday, it would have been a part of last week's show, but it happened like an hour before the show started, and I wanted to talk about it. I just didn't know enough at the time. And it's good that I waited because more has come out about it since that I want to keep talking about. Then at 5, going to be talking about someone who's on Triple Crown watch in the MLB. That's another, like a couple of these things. I've mentioned them in passing on this show, but I haven't really dove into the topics yet and what they mean. So I'm going to be talking about how a little history can be made in the American League this year. And then in the 6th spot, I got some preseason. I got a preseason tier list for the NFL. No, this is not how the teams are performing in the preseason, and that's what the tier list is about. This is just my before the season starts. Here is my tier list of NFL teams. So I'm gonna have a graphic for that, show that off to you, just like I did with the MLB like 5 months ago. It's been a while, but I did one for them as well. Then in the 7th spot, the State of the Union. You may notice something different. It's not a baseball team in here for the first time, and I think maybe the Spurs were my State of the Union during the finals, maybe, which would have been like episode 12 if I had to guess. So it's been a while since a non-baseball team has been on here, but with football coming up, I picked a team that's got a lot of problems. And if you're looking for an organization that's problematic, you never really have to look farther than the Cleveland Browns. So I'm going to be talking about them today. And then in the 8th spot, 3 studs of the week, as always, some more baseball talk. I got 3 guys for you, a small, medium, and big stud who I think stood out among the rest in Major League Baseball this week. So I'm going to give them their flowers and the recognition they deserve. And then 9th, I'm going to be issuing an apology to the Minnesota Twins. I have bashed this organization in every possible way I could think to since, like 5 months ago. Like when episode 6 probably was the first time I brought up that I thought the Twins was going to be bad or were going to be bad. So it's almost like 20 episodes ago, which is kind of crazy to think about, but it's been a while. There's been a long time on a lot of different shows where I've said I've had no faith in the Twins. The Twins are going to be terrible, this and that. And they're not great, but they're not as bad as I thought. So given all the time I spent bashing this team, I figured I'd carve out a little subject at the end to admit I was wrong. And then rounding us out, as always, the last thing we do on this show every week, it is the top 10. I'm not going to tell you what the subject of the top 10 is because, of course, you're going to have to, sit down, talk some sports with me for an hour before you're allowed to find out. Or, you click off, you do whatever, you tune back in. Whatever you decide to do is up to you. I can't control it. All I hope, though, is that you stick around for the end of the episode because I got a good one this week. It's kind of not a continuation, but it kind of goes off of a previous top 10 that I did. I think it was 8 weeks back. So I'm going to be staying in that same universe. It's going to be a fun top 10, something I'm passionate about and I love. So that was an exciting one for me to rank. So now with that out of the way, you know what I'm talking about. I got all my notes over here ready to go. Sit back, relax. I'm going to hydrate. Let's get it started. Leading off, the GT Top 25. So this is my preseason Top 25 for college football teams. I want to preface this with something. I'm not a college football expert. I'm trying to learn more and more actively about college football every year and pay more attention to it at a deeper level, know more about a lot of the teams. I'd say I have surface level knowledge of college football. I'm not stupid. I'm not oblivious about it, but it's me to say my 1 through 10, I'm very confident in that this 1 through 10, there's always a couple teams that disappoint every year, maybe 1 or 2 that are ranked high. But for the most part, I think my top 10 is rock solid. I'm very happy with it. My 11 through 25 is interesting. There are some teams where I'm I don't know if they're really going to be that good. Am I overestimating this team? Am I really underestimating this team? I don't know. So my 1 through 10, I think it is very well put together. And my 11 through 25 is good. I like it. It's mine, and I stand by it. But some of the picks, I'm just saying, are probably going to look stupid by the time we get to this time. Not this time next year. Well, by the time we get to the end of the season. So should I go 25-1 or should I go 1-25? I'll go 25-1. I'll build a little suspense before we get up to number 1. I'll start from the bottom and go up to the top. At 25, and there's not going to be, like I said, for 11-25, not going to break it down too much because it's just kind of filtering out the teams. I'll give a little more explanations for my 1 through 10. So 25th, I got Pitt. I think Pitt was going to be a lot better of a team last year. That Notre Dame game, though, just really killed them. I think that's a team that's getting better. And I think they're going to finish in the top 25. I don't think they're going to make the playoff, but I think they're going to be hovering around the 25 to 20 spots all year after they string a few wins together. And I think they're a solid team. So I got Pitt at 25. I got another ACC team. I got Louisville at 24. I got Missouri at 23. I got Florida at 22. I know Florida had a big down year last year, but they played a lot of tough teams. Like Florida undoubtedly had one of the hardest schedules I've ever seen last year. And I think they're going to bounce back after a tough year last year against a lot of tough teams. They have a good roster. Utah, I have 21. I said I think it was either last week or 2 weeks ago. I can't remember. I have them making their conference championship game. I have them down at 21, though. Iowa, I got at 20. Washington, I have at 19. Penn State, I have at 18. Thought about putting them higher, but their schedule is just so easy that's gonna help them out a lot. Tennessee, I have at 17. SMU, I have at 16. I have them making the ACC championship game as well. Well, not as well. I said I had Utah making their game, which would have been the Big 12. I have SMU, making the ACC. At 15, I got BYU. They were solid last year, not like a real threat, but they were solid, and I think they're going to build off this year. But until I see it, I'm being conservative, and I'm putting them 15. USC, I got at 14. They were pretty nice last year. Bama, I got at 13. I haven't been super fond of any Bama team I've seen recently, and now it's more quarterback questions after, Ty Simpson has gone off and got drafted. So I don't know. The post-Saban Crimson Tide really haven't wowed me in any year they've had, except that 1 year with Milroe and Ryan Williams. They were solid, but I don't know. I'm never too high on Bama teams, but Bama teams are always solid. So I got them at 13. At 12, I got Oklahoma. At 11, I got Ole Miss. Ole Miss was a force last year. I didn't forget that. It's just, now we're another year removed. I think some teams got better. I don't know how much better they got. So I have them at 11. And then I have the team that stole their head coach at number 10. I got the Louisiana State Tigers. At number 9, I got Texas Tech. And then at 8, I got the other Texas team, A&M. Both of those teams were good last year. I believe that will continue into this year, and they'll have a top 10 caliber teams. At 7th, I have Indiana. That's just because they don't have Mendoza anymore. If it wasn't for Mendoza and my blind faith in Kurt Cignetti and his coaching abilities to just get stuff done like he has the last 2 years, this team would be a lot lower, because I think the play of Mendoza last year was just such an integral part to their success. And do they succeed without Mendoza last year? Probably, but they don't go undefeated and win it all without Mendoza last year. So I'm a little bit trepidatious putting them higher, but I'm comfortable with 7, given the teams I have above them. At 6, I have Notre Dame. Notre Dame's always pretty solid. I'm going to talk to you more about them soon, but their schedule is just so easy, and the polls always like to give them love that I don't know if they're going to lose a game this year. They might not lose a game, and they're going to be very highly ranked because of that. Number 5, what I think is the best team in the ACC, I got Miami. At 4th, I got Texas and Arch Manning. I think that team is going to be fantastic this year. And I have them going up against my 3rd team, which is Georgia in the SEC championship, as I mentioned a couple weeks back. Georgia and Texas at 3 and 4. I think they are going to be two forces. I think you can chalk that SEC matchup up right now. I think you could put it down in pen. It's going to happen. I think it's going to happen, and it's going to be a fantastic game. I can't wait for it. I hope it happens. And then another conference championship game I have in the Big Ten is my 1 and 2 teams. At 2, I got Ohio State, and at 1, I got Oregon. I think Oregon is just slightly better than Ohio State, just like I think Georgia is slightly better than Texas. With Raiola coming back. With he's on their team now, but what I meant to say was with Dante Moore coming back, I think Oregon's just going to be phenomenal. I mean, is this the year they finally win it all? Who's to say? I don't know. But I think they're going to go on another deep playoff run this year at a minimum. And top to bottom, I just believe the Oregon Ducks are the best team in college football roster-wise. So reading that back off to you, and I'm not going to do this every week. This isn't going to eat up a topic every week, but maybe once every 5 weeks, I'll do a top 25 update. We'll see how things shift. So yeah, I'll read it back off to you real quick, a little more short and to the point. At 25, it's Pitt. At 24, it's Louisville. At 23, it's Missouri. At 22, it's Florida. 21, Utah. At 20, it's Iowa. At 19, it is Washington. At 18, I have Penn State. 17th is Tennessee. At 16, I have SMU. At 15, I have BYU. At 14, I have USC. 13, I have Alabama. 12, Oklahoma. 11th is Ole Miss. 10th is LSU. 9 is Texas Tech. 8 is Texas A&M. 7 is Indiana. 6 is Notre Dame. 5 is Miami. 4 is Texas. 3 is Georgia. 2 is Ohio State. And at number 1, it's the Oregon Ducks. So with that little bit of college football talk done there, now you know my preseason top 25 rankings for college football, as that is going to begin to ramp up here soon. And like I said, with college football coming up, now is a great time for me to remind everyone of a rule that you may or may not have been aware of that was instituted for this season. I am talking about the new Notre Dame rule. So what is this new Notre Dame rule, you may ask? Well, this is only for Notre Dame, basically. That's why it's being called the Notre Dame rule. And like I said, I mentioned it in passing a couple of times when talking about like the college football playoff format, but I haven't really dove into it and given you my perspective on all this and, you know, my takes on this matter. So I figured now with the season about to start, this would be a great time to do this little segment. So the rule is if Notre Dame finishes the regular season ranked inside of the top 12 at the final college football playoff rankings, they will automatically secure a playoff berth. I mean, like, I get it, but it just kind of feels like they're trying to make peace with this school after they childishly sat out of their bowl game last year. It feels kind of like a charity rule for them. Like, oh, you got screwed out of a spot because of our rules, but you were pretty good, so we'll make it to where you always have a chance every year, no matter what. Like, that's just going to start, like, it's just Notre Dame hogging up a playoff spot. What? Because they refuse to join a conference? How about instead of giving them a charity rule, you force them to play a real schedule and join an actual Power 4 conference? Or even, I don't care if they join. They could join the Mountain West for all I care. Just they need to be in a conference. And I get it's for all independent schools technically. But come on, it's just Notre Dame. Like, UConn Huskies, love them. They're not going to be vying for the spot this year. And it's like, oh, well, you were close. But if only you were in the top 12, you'd make it in. Like, this is just for Notre Dame. Might as well be called the Notre Dame rule. I don't know if it is, but it should be because it just really applies for them. And, I mean, this just means Notre Dame has to be good this year. Could you imagine the laughingstock that this school would be if the year after they complained about missing the playoff and sat out of their bowl game and got a rule specially made for them that made it 10 times easier for them to make the playoff than anybody else, that they miss it because they're not ranked in the top 12? I mean, that would be brutal. They would never hear the end of it. It would rain down just criticism and jokes, and like the butt of every joke in the offseason would be the Notre Dame Fighting Irish if they were to not make the playoffs this year for how this was laid out to them. Because, yeah, I know they have to reach top 12, but they don't have to play a packed schedule filled of Power 4 opponents who are legit threats to win the title. And their schedule is just easy. Like, not only is it not like contender after contender, like it's not like they're not playing a Florida schedule. MSU's schedule is harder than Notre Dame's, like, because they have to play Big Ten teams. I mean, I have it pulled up for you here. This is who Notre Dame has to play. Tell me if you see, I think they have one, they could lose 3 games. They're playing against 3 teams. Only 3 of their games they play this year are against teams I have in the top 25. One of those teams is in the top 10. So just at that level, it's not that tough of a schedule, but I'm going to go through it for you. Wisconsin, Rice, my Michigan State Spartans. I would love if we beat Notre Dame. Oh, that would feel so good. Then they play Purdue, then North Carolina, then Stanford. So 1, 2, 3. First, they're going to start 6-0, you know, unless my Spartans pull off a miracle, which, God, I hope they do. But most likely, it's 6-0 with no impressive or tough wins for Notre Dame. I think we can all agree on that. Then they have to go on the road and beat BYU. That's a tougher game to win. I mean, that's no cakewalk. I think BYU is going to be solid this year. It's no cakewalk, but still a game that Notre Dame should win. Then they have Navy on the road. They're going to win that game. They have Miami at home. This is, I think, going to be the only real tough game for Notre Dame. I think a lot of people are going to bet BYU at home against Notre Dame whenever that weekend of the 17th rolls around, and I think it's a trap. I think Notre Dame's going to win that game on the road. But this Miami game that they got, their third to last game of the season at home, this is the only real time I think Notre Dame will be in danger this season. Because afterwards, they have Boston College at home, and then they play SMU, who I think is going to be a real solid team this year. But they have that game at home, and if that's a meaningful game, they're going to have the home crowd behind them. I think they're going to pull off that win as well. So on this schedule, at most 3 losses. At most 3 losses. And none of those are going to come at minimum until week 7. The only real test for this team, the only contender that they play to see if they're worthy to be in the top 12 is Miami. Like, you shouldn't have to beat BYU and SMU as your other 2 marquee wins behind Miami if you're to go undefeated. Or even if you don't beat Miami and the other wins you're trying to use to justify your good record, like your best wins being BYU on the road and SMU at home, unless those 2 teams are ranked in the top 10 by the time we get to that part of the season, this isn't an impressive schedule unless they go 16 or not 16 and 0, whatever it is and 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And there's one more game. They play Syracuse as well as their 12th game. I should have known it was 12 games. But yeah, unless they go 12 and 0, like it would be impressive if they went 12 and 0, but that would only be because they beat Miami. There's no semblance of a tough game on here aside from Miami at home. BYU on the road, I think they'll handle well, like I said. And same with SMU at home. So it's a cakewalk schedule for Notre Dame, and all they have to do is finish in the top 12. Like, that feels like a gimme. Like, I just don't like how they're getting special treatment. And, like, it's so easy, it feels like, for Notre Dame to attain this goal year in and year out. Like, at this rate, Notre Dame should be making the playoff every single year with the kind of schedules they get as an independent conference. Like, and that just, there shouldn't be an avenue for a team to just be virtually gifted a playoff spot every year. I mean, if you're going to go this route and give Notre Dame special treatment, I think you make it top 8 instead of top 12. And that's because you could argue that even though they don't have a hard schedule, being ranked top 8, and this is just for an automatic bid, they could still get an at-large if they're not as good and the committee decides them. That's still up for interpretation. But I'm talking in terms of automatic bid, they should have to be top 8 because, well, think about it. A lot of these teams have to win their conference in order to be ranked top 8. I think it is, you can equate finishing top 8 as the same level of difficulty as it is to win your conference, much more closely than you can to making the top 12. Like, if you finish 9 through 12 of all the teams, I would say a lot of teams feel like that is nowhere near as hard to do as compared to winning a Power 4 conference. That's just my thought on that. I mean, because these other schools are consistently playing good contending Power 4 teams, and Notre Dame plays one all year and will likely make the playoff if they're just able to win all these easy games and finish in the top 12. I mean, I think it's a bit of an oversight. I think they underestimated how much leeway they'll need to give Notre Dame. I think this rule should be and probably will be changed in the next 3 to 5 years if they're just consistently making the playoff based off the fact that they're ranked top 12 with these easy cakewalk schedules. I don't think it should be allowed to continue like this. And I think if you're going to give out an automatic bid like this just for this school and make a rule, you need to tweak the parameters. And like I said, I think you do that by making it top 8 instead of top 12. So those are my thoughts on the new Notre Dame rule. Like I said, nothing too deep, nothing too groundbreaking that you've never heard before, but I just wanted to break down my thoughts on it more on this show because I had a lot to say about it, and I'd never really taken the time to just sit down and talk about it before. So that's what I got on the new Notre Dame rule. And now we're moving on to our next topic. We're just going to keep rolling. We're going to keep talking about football. We're going to talk about Nick Chubb. He called it quits. He called it a career officially after 8 NFL seasons, 7 of which were with the Cleveland Browns, and his 8th and final was with the Houston Texans. And it's just so sad how his career ended up. I mean, I remember his prime when he was killing my Steelers, especially that 2020 playoff game where we just could not stop the run. it was abysmal. There were so many games, so many Thursday night games we lost to Cleveland just because he was running the rock and we couldn't stop him. I mean, he was a force. He's a really good running back. And as well as I remember all those things, I remember just as well the unfortunate circumstances of that Minkah Fitzpatrick hit that derailed his career and ultimately led to this early retirement. I remember it was a scary hit when I watched it. To this day, I still don't think he was trying to do a dirty hit. I think it was just one of those football hits that just kind of happened like that. I mean, as unfortunate as it is, that's the game of football. Those things do tend to happen, and those things will happen. I mean, we see it a lot more often than we'd like to. Luckily, he was able to get healthy enough to where his career didn't end right then and there. He got to have a second chance in Houston, and I really thought that he was going to have a resurgence there, especially after the news broke down there that Joe Mixon was going to be injured and out. Once we knew Joe Mixon was missing time and that Nick Chubb was on that roster, I thought Nick Chubb was going to be running back one. He was going to find a resurgence on a new team and kind of be that guy again. But the main guy just kind of ended up being Woody Marks. I mean, I don't know if it was because of the outperforming in practice or what, but they used them. They used Woody Marks as their RB1. It worked out for them. They were a solid team last year, albeit they were carried by their defense, but he was still decent in the run game. But regardless of that, I still think Nick Chubb was vastly underused in that system last year. I mean, the guy was coming off injury. You can't play him as RB3 and expect him to be amazing if you're not giving him like the consistent first team reps that he needs. And I think he could have gotten back to that for him, but he just wasn't given the chances. I mean, and I still think there are teams out there, I mean, with as popular as dual running back systems are in today's games, I mean, we saw it with, Kenneth Gainwell and Saquon Barkley, who won the Super Bowl 59. Last year with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet in Seattle. Like, these dual running back tandems, we saw how much success Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery had together splitting carries in Detroit. I mean, there are so many teams that could use a running back like Nick Chubb. I mean, even remember Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt were kind of that first big dual running back threat in this new era of trying to have two really good running backs to split carries. Chubb and Hunt, I think, were doing it first with the Browns. I mean, he showed he can be a part of one of those systems. He can be an RB2 that gets a decent amount of the carries and helps take drives off the RB1. But I guess he's just not getting those calls. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's just not healthy enough right now, if he doesn't think he can get to that form, if everyone's just overlooking the fact that they could have had Nick Chubb either as their first or second running back in a dual running back tandem. I think it would have made a lot of sense for a team to go that route, but I guess he just wasn't getting the calls. No one else was interested. So that surprised me. I'm surprised and saddened that he's calling it a career after 8 years. I thought he was going to be maybe not one of the greats. Like, I don't know if I ever thought he was going to be one of the greats, but I thought he was going to be one of those phenomenal running backs that we talked about for a long time. That was just one of those like big pieces on the Browns. Like, maybe never won anything, but was still an insanely successful running back. I thought that's how it was going to go for him. But it's a career cut short, unfortunately, after 8 short years. And in terms of what's next for him, I mean, athletes and media are huge right now, whether it be a podcast or they're moving into the broadcast booth. Like, there's so many different ways these former players are staying connected to the game by doing media. I think that would be great for Nick Chubb to get into, because if he continues to be out there, that's more and more people, given his career the credit he deserves, people not forgetting about Nick Chubb because, he's still out there within media, and it keeps him close to football. And I think Nick Chubb deserves to continue to be around football because he's a phenomenal football player. So whatever it may be that he does next in his life, I hope he stays connected to football. I'd love to see him in sports media. Hey, Nick Chubb, if you want to come work for the Empty the Bench Network, I don't think anyone's going to turn you down if you want to get into sports media that way. But whatever it may be, I hope he stays connected to sports, and a career gone too soon, but a good career nonetheless. However, I have to say, I won't miss you torching my Steelers. At least when you came back, you didn't come back to the Browns, because I guarantee if you would have come back to the Browns, you would have had a phenomenal year last year running against the Steelers, because you just tended to torment my team. So, Nick Chubb, congrats on your career. I'm sorry you had it end this way, though. So now we're going to be talking about another player. We're going to flip sports, though. We're going to get out of Cleveland. We're going to go down to Arizona. And we're going to talk about Ketel Marte and this whole restricted list situation. So on August 17th, Ketel Marte was placed on the restricted list by the Diamondbacks, and he has not appeared in a game since. Last time he appeared in a game was the day before against the Atlanta Braves. So it's an interesting situation. I'm not exactly sure what the source of all of it is. I mean, we all know he's had his up and downs with this organization for a while now, but in the midst of a playoff push, we don't even know if he's going to be on this roster in October, if he's even going to be playing games for them in October. I mean, Arizona right now is the first team out of a wild card spot. They're only 2 games behind the Padres right now, who are currently tied at 0 with the Pirates in the top of the second in that wild card race. And missing Ketel is a big piece. Like, Ketel is a big piece. And this started because he failed to show up for a game against the Boston Red Sox due to an undisclosed personal matter that, to my knowledge, still hasn't been released. I think he might be have been moved to the injured list now, but it's more than that. I mean, before I say anything else too and speculate, I hope he's doing well personally. I hope it's just his beef with the organization that he's had for a while, just continuing or just maybe starting to really boil over for him. And I just hope there's nothing wrong with his well-being and that's not compromised. So I want to say that first and foremost. But he didn't show for that game, and it wasn't announced until right before first pitch. That's not usual. That something's off there. Like, something's off. And I don't want to speculate outside of just beef with the organization because, like I said, I don't know anything about his personal life. I don't know what could possibly be going on with him, that if maybe something's wrong mentally. Like, I never want to bash a guy for that. Like, if you got mental stuff going on, like, some stuff comes before sports. But for me, I believe the crux of this is beef with the organization, and it kind of reminds me of like Le'Veon Bell with the Steelers. Man, he's just like, to me, sitting out, and it's not to get paid. He signed an extension that goes through the 2030-31 season in 2025. So it's not like he's looking to get out, but I don't really know what you do with Ketel here. I mean, does he play again? Does he play a game for the D-backs again this season? You would think so, but I don't know. I have a gut feeling he's not gonna. I have a gut feeling he's not gonna suit up for the Diamondbacks again this season. I don't know what it is, but things like this don't just happen with one of your cornerstone stars you've had on the roster for years. I mean, this is extremely unusual, and when something like extremely unusual beginnings typically lead to extremely unusual endings. So that's why I think there's an off chance he might get released or DFA'd onto waivers or something, and someone might have a chance to pick him up this season, which would be absolutely crazy because, like I said, he's under contract through the 2030-31 season. So I don't know. Does he get moved? Does he play another game for the Diamondbacks? I don't know. Has he played his last game in Arizona? That would be crazy. I mean, 3 weeks ago, if you asked someone this, you'd be like, nah, that's crazy. What are you talking about? But then after last week, like literally, it's only been a week, but like, who knows? I mean, and yes, this may be a little overboard with the speculation, but like I said, this is a very weird and interesting circumstance. I mean, I don't even know. In terms of teams looking to pick him up too, I mean, the Cubs could use some help in the middle infield with Dansby out for a while. Could you imagine the threat that the Chicago Cubs would be with Ketel Marte in that lineup? Move like Nico Horner over to short, have Ketel play second. That would shake things up a lot in the National League, and especially how people perceive the Cubs as a threat. I mean, there's just so much speculation. If any of you have thoughts, love to hear them. As always, because like I said, everyone probably has a different opinion on what they think will end up with Ketel Marte. But my bold, overarching prediction about this is just that if they make the playoffs, they're not going to play Ketel Marte if he sits out until then. Like, they just can't. They would not see him fit deserving of a roster spot, whether or not he would want to play come that time. Like, I don't think Ketel is going to play another game for Arizona this year. I believe that. And if he does, it's going to be because the news came out that maybe it was some injury or maybe just some personal matter that he had to deal with internally before getting back out onto the field. In that regard, I could definitely see him playing for the Diamondbacks again. But if this is the organizational beef that I believe it is between Ketel and the higher-ups with the Arizona Diamondbacks, I think we saw him play his last game as a Diamondback on August 16th against the Braves. So that's my take and a little bit more information on that Ketel Marte situation. I'm hopeful that more information comes out about this as the week goes on and as we get deeper and deeper into this twilight month of the season. I hope we find out more. I'm going to talk about it more if any big news breaks on it and there are any major developments in it. But yeah, as of now, that is just such a crazy situation to me. All right, now in the 5 spot, we're going to be moving topics here, talking about a different baseball player, but a lot more happy vibes here. This is a lot of fun. We're not talking about sad, oh, this guy's never going to play for this team again. No, this is fun stuff that's happening because Yordan Alvarez might hit for the Triple Crown. So I've mentioned that on this show. I mentioned it on Hitting for the Cycle. I mentioned it on Unnecessary Wagers. But I've never really dove into the races. Where does he stand in, for those of you who don't know, the hitting Triple Crown in baseball is when you lead your respective league, so either the American or National League, in home runs, RBIs, and batting average. You hit the most runs, you batted in the most runners, and you hit for the highest average. If you attain all 3 of those, if you're the best at all 3 of those in the same season in your league, not across all of baseball, but just your league, you win the Triple Crown, as they say. And it hasn't happened since Miguel Cabrera in 2012. So it's been 14 years since we've seen a hitting Triple Crown, not only in baseball, but in the American League. And for the NL, it's been a long time. For the National League, it was Joe Medwick in 1937. So it's almost been 100 years. It's been 89 years since someone in the National League won the Triple Crown. It's been 14 since someone in the American League done it. And now here Yordan Alvarez is on August 24th with a legitimate case to get it done. I have my fair share of beef with the Astros because of all the cheating they did, but I root for baseball history. I am going to make it obvious. I am rooting for Yordan Alvarez to win the Triple Crown. I would love to see that. I think he deserves to win it with the season he's had. And in terms of where he stands in the 3 races and who's chasing him, I'll give those to you now. So starting off in batting average, Yordan currently leads batting average amongst all AL hitters with a 320 batting average. Chasing him is Chandler Simpson with a 310, Yandy Diaz with a 306, and then in 4th place, but not really relevant because I don't think he can bring his batting average up 30 points to make it competitive necessarily, is Ceddanne Rafaela with the Boston Red Sox hitting 289. So even just there, you can see there's only 3 guys in the AL hitting 300. So Yordan's already separated himself nicely there. Currently leads in batting average, but he's got 2 pesky contact hitters on the Rays, man. Those Rays hitters just always seem to hit for average, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, but he has a nice, comfortable 10-point lead at the moment. Then in RBIs, Yordan currently leads RBIs with 90. Chasing him, he's 5 ahead of Pete Alonso, who's got 85, 7 ahead of Junior Caminero, who's got 83, and he's 8 ahead of Dylan Dingler and Ben Rice, who are both currently at 82. He's got a pretty firm handle on that one, too, because I don't think he's going to stop knocking runners in. He's a part of a good team where they're getting on base for him. You can't get this amount of RBIs unless you got good teammates batting ahead of you, getting on base for you in these situations. So RBIs, it's an individual stat mostly, yes, but it can also be considered somewhat of a team stat because you need your guys on to get those RBIs in. So Yordan's at 90 right there. And then finally, in home runs, guess what? Yordan's in first place for that right now, too. Yeah, if the season ended today, he'd have the Triple Crown. He leads in all 3 categories. Right now, he's got 36 homers, but this is going to be the race I think it comes down to. Batting average, I think he's got. RBIs, I think he's got. The big question is going to be who wins the home run race because chasing him, he's got Junior Caminero at 35, Ben Rice at 34, Pete Alonso at 30, and then Miguel Vargas is in there too with 29. He's Miguel Vargas is in the mix. I gave him some credit, but I don't think he has that real of a shot. But Caminero, Rice, and Alonso, I think all have the power to potentially catch him. I mean, the home run race between Caminero and Jordan for Jordan's potential Triple Crown, I think is going to get a lot of eyes. If he doesn't win the Triple Crown, I think it's because Junior Caminero hit more home runs than him. I think he stays the RBI leader, and I think he stays the average leader. The home runs is going to be tough. I mean, I think we're on the cusp of witnessing history. Honestly, I do. And barring, I hope to God he doesn't get injured. This would be a horrible time for him to get injured. Like, he's on the cusp of doing something amazing. I hope he stays healthy throughout this last month to get it done. Like I said, he's got a narrow lead in all three of these categories with some good players chasing him down. I mean, the Tampa Bay Rays are doing all they can to stop Jordan from winning the Triple Crown. They got Caminero chasing him down in home runs and RBIs, and they got Chandler Simpson and Yandy Diaz chasing him down in average. I mean, it's basically Jordan Alvarez against the Tampa Bay Rays for the Triple Crown. That's what we're seeing here. And I think he can do it. I think he will do it if he's able to keep the home run numbers up. And if it wasn't obvious enough already, all of his at-bats right now are like must-watch. Like, if Jordan's hitting, you're going to want to be tuned in to, is he bringing his average up a tick? Did he hit another home run? Or did he knock a guy in? Because all of those stats matter so much right now in terms of him winning the American League Triple Crown. So it'll be interesting to see. I hope he does it because I'm just a baseball fan. I like seeing history get made, and a Triple Crown would be really, really cool. So that is your Triple Crown update on Jordan Alvarez. That's all you need to know about the Triple Crown race. And now we're going to take a pause on baseball for a couple of topics as we rotate into some football top here for the 6th and 7th topics of the episode. And starting off, we got my preseason NFL tier list. All right, I got a graphic for you here. I know you like this. I'll take the banner out of the way so you can see those poor teams at the bottom. But this is what I got. So I want to be forefront. This is not 1 through 32. Here are my power rankings. Rams are at 1 and Browns are at 32. That's not what this is. These teams are not in order from left to right and all that. No, I just put them in the category. I'll do a more specific power rankings either next week or in 2 weeks. I haven't decided what episode I'll do, but actually when I do that, I'm going to do it by AFC and NFC because, yeah, while ranking all 32 teams into one big list is fun, it really only matters how you stack up against the rest of your conference, in my opinion. I mean, I don't care if the Falcons are better than the Steelers or not in a power rankings. I care if the Steelers are looked at as better than the teams who they are competing with playoff spots for. So I'll do power rankings by conference. That'll be either next week or in 2 weeks right before NFL season. But this is simply just putting the teams in tiers. So starting at the top, it's Super Bowl favorites. The Super Bowl favorites to me are the Los Angeles Rams. They are just the best team in the NFL this year. I think they are the favorite for the Super Bowl, and it's no contest. Other contenders that I got are the Bills, Bears, Seahawks, and Broncos. I think those are all teams that could definitely win the Super Bowl too. Broncos in large part because of their defense. Seattle, they're coming off a win. They lose Kenneth Walker, but they're still a very good team. Any Ben Johnson team is going to be good in my opinion. I've seen him do nothing but dominate the NFC North since he was with the Tigers, and they were a good team last year that ran into a lethal Rams team. So I think they could definitely contend for the Super Bowl this year. And then the Buffalo Bills, they have Josh Allen. Josh Allen is just playing a brand of football right now to where I think he's going to be in the mix of it every year, whether it be divisional berth or wild card berth. And if you get him in the playoffs, he's going to win at least one game, most likely, maybe a couple. He just always seems to have his team in those talks. Teams that I think will definitely be in the playoffs. And I know mathematically some of this stuff won't work out, but like I said, take it with a grain of salt. It's just a tier list. Jaguars, Chargers, Texans, Steelers, Patriots, Falcons. Those are all teams that I have as I am more confident that these teams will make the playoffs than I am that they will miss them by a significant margin. that differs slightly from my potential wild cards, which it's toss-up for me if they'll make it or not. I don't fully believe they'll win their division. They could, but if they are to make the playoffs, I believe it's more likely to be a wild card spot. This is where we have the Giants, Bengals, Ravens, Lions, Bucks, Panthers, Eagles, Cowboys, Niners, and Packers. I know most of the NFC East is in this category because I can't figure out who's going to do what in that division. So I just threw most of them in here. But yeah, I think these are a lot of teams that are on the fringe for me. I think their seasons are going to go one way or the other, and it's just too early to tell right now, so it's toss-ups. Mediocre at best. This is a weird category. These are just teams that I'm more confident in significantly that they will be bad than they are good, and that's the Chiefs, Vikings, and Colts. I don't have faith that any of these teams will be super great this year. I don't think they're going to be the bottom of the barrel, but I think these three teams are all going to finish with like between 5 and 7 wins, maybe 5 and 8. Not totally sure, but their ceilings just aren't that high, so that's why I have them at mediocre at best. And young but intriguing. Now, these teams I don't think are going to be very good this year, but I think they are set up well for the future. Some could potentially be decent this year. I don't know, but Raiders, Saints, Commanders, Cardinals, and Titans. They're all young, but I think they have futures that they're currently trying to build, and they're getting there. This just isn't the year. They're not going to win many games. Some of their football might look bad, but I think each one of these teams will probably steal a win from a good team this year that'll be like, oh, okay, these are flashes of what this team can be. And then at the bottom here, we have 3 teams that I don't even think will do that. We have the Dolphins, Jets, and Browns. I think all 3 of those teams will be bad. I could give a little Givin Takes guarantee right here that one of those 3 teams will have the first overall pick in the draft next year. I think I will. I'll put that bold claim prediction on the internet. One of the Dolphins, Jets, or Browns will be picking first overall in the 2027 NFL draft. You can book that. I'll take that to the bank. I'll check it, cash it, however the saying goes. I probably butchered it. But, yeah, one of those teams is picking first next year. But this is my tier list. I think it's pretty solid. I don't think there's a lot to dispute in those middle 3 tiers there, the mediocre at best, potential wild card playoff teams. A lot of those could be shuffled around. But in terms of the top 2 and bottom 2 tiers, I think those are rock solid. I don't think there's many question marks about why any of those teams are in the specific ranks that they are. But in terms of, everyone from a playoff team to mediocre, a lot of those teams, it's going to be tough to tell. But I'm pretty confident and happy in how this tier list got out. And I'll stand by this. I'll probably revisit this like week 8 or 9 once the playoff picture kind of starts to take shape a little bit. We'll see how some of this is looking. So, what'll be in 8 weeks? Episode 30. Yeah, maybe 8 weeks of the NFL season, I guess will be more like 11 weeks from now. Episode 33, the Larry Bird episode. You can catch me revisiting this potentially. But, yeah, this is my tier list. If you make one, if you got thoughts on NFL teams, share it with me. Let me know. You see that new Twitter I got. You can send it there. Instagram, TikTok, post it at me. Let me see your thoughts on these NFL teams. See how it stacks up against mine. I'd love to see it. I always love seeing that stuff. But you guys know this. That's old news. And what else is old news is that pesky 7th topic we have every week that never goes anywhere. You know it. You love it. And it's time for it. It's the State of the Union, baby. We're talking about the Cleveland Browns. As you saw, I had them at the bottom of the barrel of the NFL tier list I just made. And I think that's for good reason. This is this felt like a good week, to have the first NFL team State of the Union that I've had since I believe it was episode 4. There were a couple weeks I didn't record, so over 20 weeks ago it's been since the last time an NFL team has been on the State of the Union. And that was the Lions after they traded away David Montgomery, and I just had questions about where their organization was going. But now we're here, and we're talking about the Cleveland Browns. Like I kind of just said, if it weren't for the Dolphins and Jets existing, this team I think would easily be the favorite to get the number 1 overall pick next year. They're just so abysmal, but somehow they're managed to be 2 other teams in the AFC that are like just as abysmal. It's baffling to me. But I mean, like I said, I don't know if they'll be worse than Miami or the Jets because Miami and the Jets are very, very bad, and Cleveland has a defense which helps them out a lot. That'll win them some games they shouldn't, but nonetheless, they're going to be horrible this season. So let's break down the why they're going to be horrible this season, and then we'll talk about maybe how they can go about, fixing things. So first big problem is the QB room. I mean, you have so many damn quarterbacks in that room, and none of them are good. I'm sorry, but that's just how it goes. You have one of the worst QB rooms in the league with Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, and Dillon Gabriel. It's just not a good quarterback room, and it's not a group. It's not a positional unit that is going to win you more games than it should lose. That's just not what it's going to happen. And they don't really have the weapons. I mean, in terms of quarterback, if you hadn't heard, Deshaun Watson has been named the week 1 starter under the new head coach, Todd Monken, in the final year of his contract, Watson's contract, that is. And it's the last chance that the Browns have for this whole Deshaun Watson gamble to pay off. And I think part of that is a large reason as to why he's starting, because they need to try to get something out of this contract. And that helps him become the best of 3 mediocre options, in my opinion. I mean, your weapons you're talking about on offense are Jerry Jeudy, Isaiah Bond, Xavier Tillman, Harold Fannin Jr., and Quinshon Judkins as your offensive core. That's okay. In terms of the offensive line, it doesn't look great, but I'm going to be fully honest. I don't know. I'm not familiar with a lot of their offensive linemen, and also I'm not familiar with how many stayed from last year into this year. So from what I've read, the offensive line doesn't look like it's going to be great, but who knows? I'm not going to speculate on the O-line too much. I mean, this is the thing with their weapons. That group that I just listed off to you, Jeudy, Bond, Tillman, Fannin Jr., Judkins, it's not horrible, right? Those are all solid players. They don't have that star in there, I believe, like that they could really benefit from. Like if they were to go out and get like a Jamar Chase or something to help be the stud on that offense, or just some wide receiver of a higher caliber than Jerry Jeudy. I mean, Jeudy should be your wide receiver 2, not your wide receiver 1. I don't think he has wide receiver 1 capabilities. But he'll still be a good pass catcher. Fannin and Judkins, I think they'll just probably pan out as solid fantasy guys, and that's about it. I don't think they're going to be like game changers, best in the league, like racking up the stats. I think they'll be, nice guys to potentially have in fantasy though. But to me, this team needs a quarterback that's going to elevate the play of these young, above average offensive weapons. And I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to do that. And I'm definitely sure that Shedeur Sanders isn't going to do that, because Shedeur Sanders needs the help to grow just like these other young stars. I mean, I think if Joe Flacco was still on this team, I'd have a little bit more faith in them than I do with Deshaun Watson right now. And obviously, Dillon Gabriel needs just as much help, if not more, than Shedeur Sanders. So neither of them are going to be the quarterback to do it. Watson isn't the quarterback to do it. So how do you fix it? How do you fix the offense? Well, I'll get to that in a second, but I do want to still say, though, that, like I said, the defense is going to carry this team. You swapped Myles Garrett for Jared Verse, so you got worse, but not by that much. It's a downgrade, but it's not a huge downgrade. You still have a force up there on the edge. The rest of the defense is solid. Like I said, it'll win them some games. I think they overpaid a bit for Denzel Ward, $31 million a year for 2 years. So it's a $62 million deal over the course of 2 years. I get keeping your guy who's been a stud at the cornerback position, but I think you could have easily used that money to build a little bit of a more well-rounded roster, especially on offense. Maybe you just use some of that money to go out and get another bona fide wide receiver in this league to help your passing game out. You didn't. You could have gotten a solid running back too to help complement Judkins a little bit more. You didn't. You just kind of poured all that money into Ward, and I don't love that because you just clearly need help in other places. I mean, this is probably going to be a top 12 unit in the National Football League defensively, even without Myles Garrett. I mean, Jared Verse is still going to be able to get to the quarterback, so I think they'll be fine still on defense. But their offense isn't just going to be able – they're just not going to be able to get consistent leads consistent, sustainable leads for this defense to hold. So like I said, the defense is going to be good, but they're going to be playing from behind a lot more than they're playing with a lead. Like, just because this, as good as this defense is going to be, this offense, they're going to turn the ball over a lot. They're going to put Cleveland's defense in a lot of probably short field, uncomfortable positions. This defense is going to be tired a lot from how much they're out on the field. I mean, the defense will be great to start, and it's going to taper off at the end. I've seen it happen with the Steelers a lot. The defense is going to start off great, but it's just going to get tired and worn down because of how much they've needed to be on the field. And when you don't have the offense to support that, it doesn't go well. It doesn't go well for you. So how do you fix it? My answer is you don't. Tank. Just tank this season and get Arch Manning next year to be your quarterback. Because, if you get one Manning in the organization, the rest are going to come too. You're going to have Peyton and Eli Manning is basically two extra quarterbacks in your organization because, behind the scenes, they're going to be helping out Arch. You basically hire Peyton and Eli if you draft Arch. I think you should try to get that number 1 overall pick and get him. Now, don't. Okay, let me put this straight. Don't tank, obviously, on purpose. I think you're naturally going to be bad enough, but, don't try to be super good, I guess. I know it'll suck for Browns fans probably watching a lot of losses this year, but you have to admit, this is the best way for you to go. I mean, but like I said, best case this season, you develop some of these offensive players in the pieces that are, suitable for Arch next season, that these guys are kind of helping out Arch in the way, maybe, I've heard a lot of good things about Arch Manning's leadership. And if he's anything like Peyton and Eli, he'll be a good leader in that locker room. He's going to help complement those younger players and help elevate them to play better. And like I said, you basically get Peyton and Eli as 2 free quarterback coaches on your team for Arch Manning if you draft him. And if you do that, I think, and you secure Arch Manning and develop some of these guys this year in terms of your offensive weapons, I think this will be the most hope you've had in a season since Baker Mayfield was around. And I think that next year, give first-year quarterback some slack. I don't know if Arch would be great year 1 on the Browns, but talking the 2028 NFL season, Browns could be back to, being maybe not a legit threat, but a team that's going to float around the wild card, potentially win the division, depending on how the Bengals, Ravens, and Steelers are. So that's my State of the Union on the Browns. It's going to be a rough year regardless, so just buy into it and suck. Just suck. Don't take this year too seriously. You got a good defense that hopefully isn't going anywhere anytime soon. If you just give up on this season, you tank, and you get Arch Manning next season, I think you're looking very, very hopeful. So that is the end of the State of the Union on the Cleveland Browns. And now we're going to be moving into the 8th topic, the other staple that we got in here for you every week. It is the 3 studs of the week. As I said, I got the small, the medium, and the big stud for you. So without further ado, I'm going to read those off to you right now. First one, small cycle. I got J.J. Bleday from the Cincinnati Reds. He hit plain and simple. He hit for the cycle against the Diamondbacks this week. That's what he did. He hit for the cycle against the Diamondbacks. You know what the cycle is. He hit a homer, double, triple, and a single. He hit all 4. That's hitting for the cycle. Shout out baseball show that I do with Ben Cruz, David Wademan, and Ryan Toohey hitting for the cycle. But yeah, J.J. Bleday, it's not the craziest thing that ever happened to a baseball player, but when you hit for the cycle, you find yourself on the 3 studs of the week. It's just unfortunate that a couple better things happened for players this week. So J.J. Bleday could not go any higher than small stud this week. I originally wanted to put him in medium stud, but I couldn't because these 2 guys had some good weeks. Above him at medium stud, I have Fernando Tatis Jr., who has just been on a tear since the All-Star break. I didn't write his All-Star break numbers down, but if you look him up in his league ranks since the break, he is on fire. And the reason, though, that I'm putting him as the medium stud for this week is because if you weren't aware, he had a game where he hit 2 home runs and robbed a grand slam against the Mets. 2 homers and a grand slam robbery all in one game. Just so impressive, such a good feat. That landed him on medium stud. And, if it wasn't for this guy, honestly, he would have been big stud. But unfortunately, Pete Crow Armstrong, my MVP, is the big stud this week. He is the favorite to me. He hit 5 home runs this week, including a leadoff home run against the Chicago White Sox and a walk-off home run against the Chicago White Sox in the same game. He was the first player to do so since Vic Power. I don't know if anyone knows that name. I surely didn't before I heard this stat. Vic Power did it in 1957. And funnily enough, so it took 70 years, almost 70 years for this feat to happen after it happened in 1967. And then, and this is on the first pitch of the game, by the way. Leadoff homer on a first pitch. And then Randy Arozarena accomplished the same feat that PCA did against the Cubs 5 days later. So shout out to Randy Arozarena. If it wasn't for just the lump sum of home runs that PCA hit this week, Randy would probably have a spot on here too. But I still gave him his flowers. So those are the 3 studs of the week. The small stud, J.J. Bleday, for hitting for the cycle against the D-backs. Fernando Tatis Jr. for being hot since the All-Star break and having a game of 2 homers hit and 1 robbed. That's a net gain of 3 home runs for Fernando Tatis Jr. in that game. And then his big stud is Pete Crow Armstrong. My big stud is Pete Crow Armstrong for a 5 home run week, which included a leadoff and walk-off against the White Sox in the same game. And also shout out to Randy Arozarena for being able to accomplish that same feat against the Cubs later in the week. Now, we're moving on to the 9 spot. Last sports topic before we get into the non-sports related top 10 this week. I have to apologize. I have to issue an apology to the Minnesota Twins. I mean, this is a long overdue apology for a team that I gave crap to all season. This is not going to be a lengthy segment. This is mostly just a quick little monologue and a long overdue apology to the city of Minnesota and their Twins. So without further ado, here we go with the apology to the Minnesota Twins. Dear Minnesota Twins, I would like to formally and humbly apologize for doing nothing but slandering your team on the internet for the better part of the last 5 months. I would have bet every cent I own that you would have finished last in the American League, and I would have been dead wrong. You currently sit at 63 and 68. That's more wins than I thought you'd get all season, and you officially won't lose 100 games. You're only 5.5 back of your division, only 2.5 back. Not 2.5. You're only 2 games back of the wild card, and you were buyers at the deadline with Derek Shelton as your manager. Yes, the AL is historically weak this year, but that's not your fault. So I digress. The situation is the situation. I never fathomed you being in contention for anything aside for the worst record in Major League Baseball, but here we are in late August, and you're still right there. I commend the amazing season you've had up to this point, and I am man enough to admit that I was extremely wrong about how your season would go and how you would rank amongst these other teams. I was wrong, and I hope things continue to be great for the Minnesota Twins this season. You can color me shocked, but here I am. Minnesota, I am sorry for doubting you. Sincerely, Nate Miller. That is my video apology to the Minnesota Twins for bashing them all year. And there are probably a couple teams I could do that for that I said some things about, thought they were going to be bad, say they're not going anywhere. And now is a lot of this because these are AL teams that they're all so bad at the same time that it makes the league collectively weak and everyone in contention? Yes, but we'll ignore that fact and I'll swallow my pride and admit that I was wrong about the Twins. So like I said, that was a quick topic, and that's it for the starting 9. I might do a couple more of those apologies here towards the end of the season because there are definitely some teams that I have bashed that proved me wrong. So that was actually something that was at the crux of me wanting to start a sports show. Like, I wanted there to be a show out there where people, revisit their takes like I revisit my brackets. They admit when they're wrong and they said something stupid and that they were proven wrong. Like, that happens to a lot of people in my field constantly, but not a lot of people actually go up to it and revisit it. And that's something that I wanted to happen on this show. I want you guys to know when I'm wrong. I'm not just showing my wins, I'm showing my losses, if you think of it like that. So if there's another slower-ish news week where I'm maybe looking for a fun little end of the show 9 topic to fill in, I might plug in a few more apologies now and again. Who knows? Maybe I'll need to do one for the Browns in like 5 months because they're 17-0 and they're going to win the Super Bowl or something. Who knows? Maybe I'll need to issue an apology to the Browns. Who knows? But that's all I got in terms of sports talk today. And now, before you go and you call it a night here on this lovely Monday evening, all 287 of you watching, I appreciate you sticking around for the end. It's time for the top 10. Now, I'm going to double check this. I think it was back on episode 14. Yes, it was back on episode 14. I did my top 10 Beatles albums. Now, I've wanted to do another music top 10 for a while now. I just haven't gotten around to it, and I haven't had a good idea of a music top 10 to do. But this week, I thought, well, why don't I just do my top 10 Beatles songs? I did the 10 albums. Now I'll just do the top 10 songs from my favorite band. Because, yes, this is my favorite band of all time. Queen's a close second. Maybe next time I do albums and songs, it'll probably be Queen. But, yeah, I'm going to get this started. It's my top 10 Beatles songs. At number 10, it's Two of Us off the Let It Be album. You'll notice something. I think between all 10 of these songs, I encompass, 4 albums. So this will probably tie in pretty good to what my top 10 albums were. But Beatles songs, number 10, Two of Us. It's a great song. I can't play it. I don't want to risk singing it. I don't know what copyright stuff is, so I'm not going to risk doing that or talk about them all too much. It'll be pretty brief. But at 10, I got Two of Us. That's a fantastic song. That's a good Lennon-McCartney. At 9, I got Act Naturally. This is one of my favorite Ringo songs. Octopus's Garden is really good too. But I don't know. Something about the beat of Act Naturally, how it sounds kind of like Western. It's just always been a fun listen for me. At 8, off the same album, I got Ticket to Ride. This is a banger. I love this song. It's so good. Ticket to Ride is a phenomenal song. It's more upbeat. It's great. Give it a listen if you haven't heard it before. It's iconic. I love Ringo's drumming on that. So simple, but it's so good. I have it at 8. At number 7, it's I've Got a Feeling. No, not the Black Eyed Peas song, the Beatles song. It's just such an underrated song, in my opinion. It's so good. They played it at their iconic rooftop concert. It's phenomenal. I got it at 7. At 6, I got Get Back. Get Back is one of their most iconic songs. It's, I think, their last major hit. I mean, Let It Be around the same times too, and Long and Winding Road was on that album as well. But Get Back and Let It Be were at the top of that album in terms of how popular those songs were. It was their last big hit, and it's a damn good song. At number 5, I got Don't Let Me Down, specifically the version they played during that rooftop concert. I just think the emotion in that is really neat, and knowing that was one of the last songs they've ever played together, watching it back just makes it all the better. Billy Martin on the keys, the fifth Beatle, just adds another level of flair to that song that is so good. I have it at number 5. That's the only song I have in here that's not on one of their studio albums. And these last 4 songs, you can find them on 2 albums. Number 4, I got Maxwell's Silver Hammer. Very underrated Beatles song, in my opinion, off of Abbey Road. The melodies in that song are amazing. I love the fact that Paul McCartney just decided to write a horror story of a song with this upbeat, fun vibe. I think it's great. I love the oxymoronic aspect of that. But I got Maxwell's Silver Hammer at 4. That interlude they do at the end is one of my favorite just musical breaks in a song ever. I love listening to that. I remember when I was in high school, I would always listen to that song on the bus on repeat. I just loved how it sounds. I got it at number 4. At 3, I got In My Life off of Rubber Soul. It's just a great song. I think it's arguably Lennon and McCartney's best song that they did together. Writing wise, it's so good. It sounds amazing. And this is like Rubber Soul is their first album where they kind of started to branch off into different genres. They started smoking weed and getting all different in their music. And this was a really cool, thought-provoking song. I like it a lot at 3. At 2 off the same album is Nowhere Man. Nowhere Man is a great song. I don't think this is a Lennon McCartney, but I'm going to look it up. It was just John Lennon, but it was credited to Lennon McCarthy. So it was basically a Lennon song, but nonetheless, it's still amazing. Like I said, I would put that as the best Lennon McCartney composition if it actually were one. I view that one more as just a John Lennon song. And at number 1, my favorite Beatles song of all time, the song that I listened to that got me into the Beatles, Here Comes the Sun. George Harrison sat in Eric Clapton's garden one day in 1969 and wrote the best Beatles song of all time. The guitar playing on that just, it transcends you. It takes you to another level. It's the best acoustic guitar I think I've ever heard in a song. I just love how it sounds so much. It's a song about, basically dark times are over, sun's coming out. It's going to be all right. It's a great message. It's a great song. That song alone made me want to learn how to play the guitar, which I kind of can play the guitar. I'm okay at it. I'm not great, but I just love that song. It got me into the Beatles. I started this list with typing in the number 4, 3, 2, and 1 songs because I just knew those were going to be there. And it was never a doubt that Here Comes the Sun would be my number 1. It's my favorite Beatles song of all time. It's not even really a question. And I know there's a couple I missed on here. It's really hard to make a top 10 of Beatles songs because they have so many good songs. I mean, I wanted to throw Lady Madonna on here. Help. Let It Be. Hey Jude. Long and Winding Road. There's just You've Got to Hide Your Love Away is a great Beatles song. Yellow Submarine is iconic. Octopus's Garden. Eleanor Rigby. Taxman. Tomorrow Never Knows. I mean, I could go on and on for 25. I could do a top 50 Beatles songs, honestly. Maybe for episode 50, I'll do a top 50 Beatles songs or something. I don't know, but there's just so many. There were definitely some I left off this list, but Baby You're a Rich Man, All You Need Is Love. Those are great songs too. Penny Lane. They're all great, but the 10 that I landed on being in the top 10, it was 10 was Two of Us. 9 was Act Naturally. 8 was Ticket to Ride. 7 was I've Got a Feeling. 6 was Get Back. 5 was the rooftop version of Don't Let Me Down. 4 was Maxwell's Silver Hammer. 3 was In My Life. 2 was Nowhere Man. And at number 1 is Here Comes the Sun. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Givin Takes. This is the 22nd installment of the show. Next week, this show will be as old as I am. We will both be 23. Givin Takes in episodes, me in years. But yeah, next week is the Jordan episode or the LeBron episode or whoever you want to say is 23. That's the episode we got next week. That's going to be a fun one. I'll be fresh off a wedding for that episode. So that'll be fun. But yeah, it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. And I'd like to thank the almost 300 people that are here watching with me at 10:43 on a Monday night here on the East Coast. I appreciate all 291 of you. It means a lot. And you see the banner down there. Keep watching. I appreciate all of you who watched today, whether it be Twitter on YouTube. But hey, if you typically watch on Twitter and that's where you get it, and you're thinking maybe you could watch on YouTube, that helps out our watch hours a lot. So if you're able to make that happen, we'd appreciate that just as much as you watching on Twitter. It would be amazing. Anything to help us push to that 4,000 watch hour mark would mean a lot. But like I said, that's all I got for you guys today. It's been a pleasure talking football and baseball with you, and I'm looking forward to do it next week where we have a little more NFL talk, a little more important baseball talk, because this part of August is always kind of slow in sports. You know, we're all waiting for NFL and college to start, and we're all waiting for the playoffs to start in the MLB, and it's just kind of like this it's kind of like a little soft spot for sports this end of August here. So next week, as we bleed into September, it's just going to be getting more and more exciting with better stuff to talk about. I'm looking forward to it a lot. I can't wait for it. So until then, like I said, I would like to thank you all for watching. I appreciate you doing so. And I will see you all next week. So I've been Nate Miller. Those are my takes.